My name is Zach Graveson, and joining me is the man with the financial plan, Christian Fournier, and our guest for the day. He is the 2020 North Grenville's winner of the Top Young Entrepreneur. He's the owner of Albanese Valley CrossFit and the co-owner of Summit Drywall, Devin Eaton. Devin, how are we doing?
Good. How are you guys? Thanks for having me.
We're doing good. We're doing good. Now, one thing that Chris told me before we jumped on is that this isn't your first gym. You're out in BC right now, but you had one in Ontario. So I'd be curious to hear about your journey as an entrepreneur, but really starting as the transition of selling that old gym and moving out west.
Yeah, for sure. So I opened up CrossFit Chemical about a year to the date of graduation from Bishops that we attended. Wow. I was almost spot on. I think I was about 10 days off of the graduation date. But yeah, just like a lot of people coming out of university, you kind of have an idea about what your plan is, what you're going to do. And yeah, for like the first 6 months, I kind of felt a little lost on like what I wanted to do with my career path. What I anticipated versus reality is vastly different, right? And so, about November of 2016, I volunteered for the CrossFit Invitational, and that's where I met one of my mentors, Kevin Bowles, who is the owner of CrossFit Oshawa. And we were just chatting, and it was something I really wanted to do, was to own a CrossFit affiliate, because it kind of changed my life, and I wanted it to impact as many people as possible and kind of deliver that message to as many people as I could. And so we were talking about, how to procure equipment, all the way to insurance, even just to how to like register a business, right? Like those are all little things that a lot of people don't know, and it's obviously really important. So once we got that ball rolling, I was kind of like, let's just go for it. And the town that I started in was Kemptville, which is about 30 minutes south of Ottawa, and it's a booming town. And I kind of saw that opportunity growing up, just watching it boom. And so I was like, let's put a CrossFit gym in there. And during my time during university, I was trying to convince my folks. I was like, I don't want to finish university. I just want to do this, And thankfully, they talked me off that ledge, and finished school, and gained those skills that are crucial and essential, for running a business and just learning about yourself. And then, April 15th, 2012 or 2017, I opened that. And then, I did, my work hours? I was about 95 hours a week for 3 years. I worked in that gym.
Insane. Absolutely insane.
I was every day from 6 a.m. till 8:30 at night for 3 years. I did that just to grow it. And, the kind of the concept was, there's no other option but to be successful with this. It didn't matter what had to be done. Like, I was willing to do it. And there were nights where I slept in that gym for sure, because the drive back home for 30 minutes, wasn't worth it. Wasn't worth it. So
that's hilarious, Devin. We see your dedication right now. I mean, we reached out to you for this podcast. We said, look, when are you free to do it? Like, look, 6 a.m. my time is when I have time to do it. So book it. You're getting it done. So for those listening, Devin's out there at 6 a.m. where he is out west right now. Devin, quick question for you.
Yeah.
Starting a business, it's extremely difficult. People are also, and especially a gym must be capital intensive at first. You got to get the equipment, you got to rent out a place, you got to build that up. I'd be curious if you want to share with us how you were able to do that. Was it straight up loans? Was it a bit of equity that you had saved up? A mix of both? Was there a good partnership with CrossFit? Because it's a big investment to start what you did.
Yeah. So I did it on a line of credit. Wow. I opened that up, and it was a bit of a gamble, right? Because now you're on the hook for, about 60,000 worth of equipment. And you're like, all right, there's no options here. And then obviously you got your overhead, which I believe when we first started was roughly 3,000 a month. Wow. But, I kind of went into it, and my folks kind of joked with me too, is, whenever I was pitching the idea to them, I'm like, this is what I want to do. Because it's very opposite to what my whole family does, right? They're very much like, get a union job, work in the hospital, be that kind of idea, and get your pension and retire. And to me, that just kind of sounded a little boring. It's like, where's the fun in that, And so I remember pitching it to my folks, like, this is what I want to do. And just saying to them, all I need is 22 people to commit to this, and I can pay my bills.
Wow.
And I opened day one with 33 people.
Day one,
we had 33 members, so we were already positive cash flow coming in, which was
rare.
Yeah, which is exhale, big exhale there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just going in on a line of credit and just taking that risk on the city, I guess not the city of Kemptville and myself, I guess I'm okay to gamble on myself.
Yeah, that's good. I love it.
Now, is this in a different town? You said 30 minutes from Ottawa. Were you in Ottawa and you would drive down?
No, so I was in Prescott, which is about 25 minutes south of Kemptville. So yeah, I was 21, still living with my folks. And then, at 22 or 23, I ended up buying my first house in Kemptville as well. So yeah, it's one of those things where, CrossFit allows us to be small independent business owners. We're not a franchise model, we're an affiliate model. So we pay a fee every year to use the name and the licensing around CrossFit. But we get the ability to run it however we want, which is pros and cons of that. You can go to some bad ones and you can go to some good ones.
And those 33 members day one, I mean, we're seeing it right now. We're working on the branding, the brand awareness, getting people to know us and all that. How did you, is this people that were in your inner circle? How did you start promoting the gym to have 33 members and be cash flow positive on day one?
Yeah, so as soon as we leased out the spot that we had, the first thing I did was put a sign up. Like, we got our signage up ready to go. And then it was honestly, I mean, it's 2017. It's so funny. I just put it in like a Kemptville swap shop, on Facebook.
No way.
Yeah, I was like, hey, Kemptville or CrossFit's coming to Kemptville. And then all of a sudden it was like just inundated with messages of like, we're so happy to have it. We've been waiting. It was really funny because when I opened, I had two CrossFit gym owners in Ottawa reach out to me and were like, damn, like we were going to go there. Like that was our expansion city. And I was like, wow, you snooze, you lose, So I got in there and yeah, it was basically that, which, the second time around out here, it's been vastly different. The world of social media has evolved tremendously over the last 7 years. And it's been a little bit different, the reach and how to get people, it's yeah, that's kind of how I did it. It's and then just sat in the gym for, 13 hours a day, waited for people to come out. And, marketing doesn't quite work with CrossFit because when people look at it, they kind of have an idea of what it is, but we focus on branding as much as we possibly can. Is what is your experience inside the gym? I'm a big believer that, Rogue Fitness, if you're in the gym space, they're the number one CrossFit supplier for equipment, but they're not my brand, so we try to cover up those types of things and we put our own gym name on them. So people are just constantly reminded that, you're in CrossFit Kemptville, you're in Alberni Valley CrossFit, you're not in Rogue Gym, give them that experience. We try to infiltrate their life as much as possible, from coffee mugs to pens to shirts to hats, and people are proud to wear it. So that makes you, a proud business owner that they're happy to represent you.
You're building a culture with the companies that you've built, and people want to feel like they're part of something. And I think that's one of the biggest success points for CrossFit. I mean, people are bounded to that family, and you see the rise in the games and everything. So it's really cool to see that culture build out. So you did that. You worked your ass off for 3 years nonstop, and you owned it for another. I think you owned it in total for 5 years before you exited your first business. Or how many years were you with Kemptville?
About just over 5 years I was with Kemptville. Like I did the 3 years of those long work days, and then we expanded in the middle of it. So we went from a 1,500 square foot facility, we went up to like a 3,500 square foot facility after 2 years. At that point we were 115 members strong. And then at that point, I was able to hire my first full-time coach. I was like, all right, I'm starting to get some time away. And then the world shut down, right? Literally about 4 weeks later, right? Like the whole world came to a screeching halt. And then, due to the culture and the community building that we do inside that gym, I give all the credit and the praise to the members there that they kept us going, through that time, because, what was it, like 30% of fitness facilities closed permanently across Canada. And, happy to not be a part of that statistic, but, I give that all towards the members. They supported us through the entirety because they didn't want to see it shut down. And we gave as much as we could during that time for them. And when we opened back up, Rick, I think I ended up selling the gym. We had 165 members and 75 kids that came in and out of there on a 6 week rotational basis.
That's huge, Devin.
So
that's
how, when you say the members kept supporting us, but you guys were fully shut down? or did you have outdoor workouts, or how did that work?
Oh man, we had everything. So yeah, it was really funny, right? Because everybody said 2 weeks in the beginning, and so for myself, I'm like, oh man, 2 week vacation. I haven't had this in years.
Good
Like,
news. Yeah.
this is great. Go home and relax for a little bit, and then by the month 4 of the first shutdown, it started to get a little tough. That was definitely some of the deeper and darker days of my entrepreneurship. Of just watching something that you've built just crumble in front of your eyes, and there's nothing you can do about it because what can you do at that point. So during that time we gave out all of our equipment to all of our members, so the gym was basically stuck with rubber mats and a steel rig. That was it. Everything else was with them, and we basically kept it as if you're renting or you're like leasing out equipment from us, we would reduce your membership down to 50% of its monthly total, just for the fact that you're using our equipment. And then, over the course of that time, some people, they lost their jobs too. And, you can have that choice of yourself, whether you want to be, that hard ass and be like, give me my equipment back, or, just sympathize, because it's a weird time and a rare time in history where you're like, hey, just keep it because I know that you need it and it's for your mental health at this point. Just stay involved with the community and we'll get it back from you whenever we reopen. And, by doing that, everybody came back. Everybody was like, oh, thank you for the support, like, thank you for letting me use the equipment. You had a couple people who never showed back up with some equipment, so, lost about a few $100s worth of equipment, but whatever, it was a weird time. So yeah, we did at home workouts. At one point we were, for middle of January, doing workouts in a tent outside. It was, and minus 30. That's not fun. It was crazy. It was a wild time, man, but we made it.
Now I have to ask, why out west? Like, what made you first say, you know what, I have an exit plan, I want to get out of this business, I want to sell? And was your intention to go right away and start another 2 businesses? So
yeah, no, that's so funny. Yeah. Like so how it all happened with selling is one of my employees, she was looking to get some roots in that area, and I was looking for a little adventure. I spent most of my 20s building this business and sacrificing not only my time, but you lose a lot of relationships during that time, because entrepreneurship is difficult, right? Not a lot of people can understand what you're trying to do. And you need some rock solid support group around you to understand it, to be with you through it. And like I lost friendships, romantic relationships, I lost all that over that course of that time, man, because you're just dedicating so much towards this needs to be successful. But at that point, I was like, I'm tired. COVID took a beating, but the business was doing healthy. Like, it was better than it ever had been at that point. But I was looking for a change. I was in an area that was 30 minutes from where I grew up, and I was like, I need to change the scenery. I need to change up my life a little bit. So whenever I sold the business, I told myself I'd never own another CrossFit gym again.
Okay.
I was like, I'll never do it. Because as much as we're in the fitness business, it's not really the fitness business. We're in the relationship business is what we're in. Is the buy-in from your members. They have to trust you. And, to be a 21-year-old entrepreneur, looking at me trying to give them advice, they're like, what the hell is this punk? No, like, what is this guy? And then it takes some time to buy in. And then, as I was exiting through the business, I was just doing interviews, I was trying to find, what's my next path that I wanted to do. And my first job offer was from this city that I moved to, Port Alberni, on the island here, as a recreation programmer. The only issue is they offered me the job. So I sold March 1st. They offered me the job March 3rd, and I needed to be out here from March 10th.
Wow.
And I was like, well, it takes me 5 days to drive. How my house is in a lockup storage. I got to get that organized. Like, I got to find a place to live. Like, that's just not feasible, or realistic, but it was a great opportunity. And so over that time, I think I had about 9 or 10 job offers from, Courtney, BC to Louisiana. I had a job offer, and Fort McMurray, and I was like, you know what, like, this working for somebody else sounds riskier than working for myself. Just in terms of like, passion and like, your growth, I think, I'm like, no, like, I don't want somebody telling me I'd have a 15-minute break, like, I don't need to break now, I'll break later and I'll do it for 30 minutes, like, I know how to manage my own time really well. And so, whenever I was down traveling with my girlfriend right now in Colorado, after I sold everything, my Aiden from Bishops, he was like, hey man, you got to come up to the island and come see it. So I was like, all right, sure, why not? Like, just hopped on a plane, flew out to the island, and then I was like, I'm gonna go to Port Alberni and see what I missed out on.
Okay.
You know, I want to go check it out. And yeah, when I first entered here, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, oh, okay, I dodged a bullet. That's good. It's a funny town, you know. It's a funny city, but it's going through some huge revamping right now. And yeah, I kind of found, you know, there was 24,000 people. There was no CrossFit gym. There was only one Anytime Fitness. You know, watching the economic development, the plans that's going on. So there's a huge 8-year plan that's going on to redevelop the waterfront, and they just announced the partnership yesterday. It's the same guy who developed the Squamish area as well. So he's coming here to develop Port Alberni now. Just watching, I think in 2022 or 21, there was like 36 new businesses opened up. I'm like, okay, so something's happening here, you know, like something's going on in this town. And then, yeah, it was from there. It was like, you know, I wanted to be on the West Coast. I wanted to change the scenery. You know, it kind of facilitates some of the activities that I like to do outside of the gym, you know, because once you turn a passion into a job, you need to find another passion. That's for sure. You know, like I had, yeah, I loved CrossFit. It was my life, and it has been for almost half of it. But, you know, it's a job now. And so I found, like, you know, hiking, mountain biking, all that kind of stuff, you know, that like you need to have instead of it. Cause yeah, you can get burnt out pretty quick, you know? And so, yeah, I was like, hey, why not? So all I did was I started researching, you know, properties, the values of rent in the area, and then just reverse engineered the numbers, you know. And then from this one, with the location right now, I was like, okay, I need 14 people to come and be at the gym, and I'll be cash positive. And day one, I opened up with 28. So double, yeah. So we were cash positive month one as well whenever we opened Alberni Valley CrossFit. Yeah,
that's huge.
And from there, because I want to talk about your time management, but first I want to hear about this other company. I think it's Summit Drywall. You're co-owner of that. What's your involvement in that company? And after that, I'm curious to hear about what's your day-to-day schedule. How do you compartmentalize all these different businesses and have time for your own habits outside and keep
and a girlfriend
time to relax a bit?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean, I got to give a lot of credit to my girlfriend, Gabby. She's been a huge supporter of all of this, you know, like we said, you know, like we'll grind, we'll do whatever needs to be to get to where we want to be. And, you know, I kind of had this opportunity fall in my lap of like, hey, let's open up a drywall company in this area. And, you know, personally, I'm not a big drywaller, you know. I don't know too much about it, but I have, you know, now a mentor as well who's teaching me about the trade. But what I do think I know a bit about is managing people, managing time, managing projects. And I was like, this is what it is, you know, is managing these projects. And so, yeah, she kind of took a risk as well. My girlfriend, she quit her hospital job. She's an epidemiologist or a biostatistician by by career. And so she quit the hospital. Now she runs the gym for me. She's an amazing athlete. She's a former provincial Olympic weightlifting champion, powerlifting champion, and international rower. So she's got that part down, you know. So I can feel a little bit relaxed, and, you know, I can trust her that, you know, she's got it. And there's some learning parts because she's a great coach, and now it's just learning how to run the business. And I'm still involved in it for sure. Lots of things, just big picture, you know, I get to work on the business versus in the business now, which is awesome. You know, I really enjoy that. And then, yeah, the drywall stuff, this guy was like, hey, like, come help me tape out a house. And I was like, I don't even know what that means, but let's do it. You know, like, let's go. And it was fun. You know, I don't know why I find it very satisfying. You know, it's like vacuuming. You see dirt and it's gone. Boom. It's like instant gratification. You know, with this, it's like you can see it come together, and it's very satisfying to watch. You know, you basically turn a structure that's bare bones and you turn it into, you know, your home really through the drywalling process, which is really cool. You get to see it come to life, right? It's like, here's the walls, here's my rooms. It's really cool. And it's really satisfying to see and to be a part of, you know, building something like that. And yeah, that's kind of how the drywall came about. And now here we are 2 months in, we are wrapping up. We'll be 5 projects down, and we have 2 more starting up next week. Yeah, it's been a wild ride. I didn't expect this to happen. You know, I was actually laughing with my girlfriend last night. I was like, I don't know how we got here. You know, it's been a crazy year.
Are you thinking of becoming well, I mean, you already are with two businesses, but expanding more and becoming a serial entrepreneur where you have multiple small businesses with different revenue streams, or how do you see your future going right now? Or just going to manage the two of them for now and see where it takes you?
Um, yeah, right now with the like we have a kind of like a, our 3, 5, and 10-year game plan for
Yep.
all of these businesses. The goal and eventually is to buy a building for the gym, and
Okay.
we've got a couple on our radar right now, but we got to run out our lease and we got to see,
Of
some
course.
consistent momentum for a couple of years. Before making that investment. And then, yeah, I think like I joke, like there's so many things in this town that I think could do well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, if anybody came up with an idea, like I would invest in them. Like where it was like a poke bowl restaurant, man, like this place is
Yeah,
needing
yeah.
that, like a rock climbing gym. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I'm like, so Gabby's really good at, keeping me level headed and be like, hey, one thing at a time,
Yeah.
don't go too much in. But what's really good is my partner for the drywall. He's similar thing. He actually has a pretty similar story about moving out to the island, and that's
Okay.
kind of how we connected. He owned a contracting business in Ontario. He sold it after COVID, and he was like, "I need to change the scenery." And then
Mm-hmm.
he said he never owned another construction company, and then here we are. So,
That's
I mean, if I could own multiple businesses and manage them, then that's ideal. It's one thing at a time. I got a lot of things on the radar right now.
A lot
good.
of times we see people who become entrepreneurs, they had one of their parents owned a business, or they had, for example, my dad got into real estate, or he had coffee machines at some point. He was trying anything as a side hustle and all that. We see often people have someone who inspired them, or at least parents who are entrepreneurs. It seems like both your parents weren't really on the entrepreneurial side. So did you get that from anybody, or where did you start thinking about being your own boss and starting a business yourself?
So it all kind of started in high school. I had a business teacher who's kind of a bit of a mentor for me the entire time and really opened my eyes to business and what it could be. And I was like, oh, and I always knew I wanted to own a business from that time, probably around like grade 10 or 11. And I just didn't know what it was.
Well,
And then, my brother had been talking like so much about CrossFit, and I was like, all right, man, like as the people do who do CrossFit, right? We're annoying with it. I'll be the first one to admit it. We're obnoxious about it. And then finally I tried it, and then I was like, all right, like this is what I want to do. And then whenever I went to university, I don't know if you had him as well, Chris, but Karpenko, he was really
yeah,
inspiring as
huge into
well.
entrepreneurship.
Yeah, he was fantastic. And I was like, and then I forget who the gentleman was, but he came in, he owned a trucking company, and he was a total badass, man. That guy was a baller. And I was like, all right,
This is
I
it.
forget his name, but yeah, he was awesome. And I was like, all right, I got to get into this, and my mind kind of works where like I look at things and I'm like, okay, how can we make this better? What can go in here? What can be successful there? And so that's just kind of how my thought process works. But yeah, my parents weren't. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was, who worked as a jail guard to a probation officer to vice president of a union to chief of staff for OPSU. And
Wow.
the funny part about it was now they're opening up businesses,
You're
since I
kidding me. No
yeah, since
way.
I've started, my brother-in-law, he's a master carpenter and he was working for people, and then he was talking about business stuff, and now he owns his own carpentry business, and that was last year he opened it up. My mom, now that all of us are out of the nest, she has her own wool business, and like
Okay.
fiber arts and stuff like that. Just keep her busy. She's 64, 65 years old, and that's keeps her busy. And now my old man just opened up a consulting business in the equine industry. So I was like,
No
all right,
way.
yeah, now we're a family of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, and you
uh,
started it.
yeah, I was like, there, here we go. We've all seen it, It's so it's kind of cool to see that. It's cool to watch other people chase some dreams because a lot of people are
Mm-hmm.
hesitant to try it, and it's risky for sure. But I've always said, I'd rather be somebody who tried and failed than be a person who, shoulda, coulda, woulda. I don't want to be that person.
100%, Devin.
So
If you can talk about back to your time management that Zach had mentioned, what is a day in the life of Devin as of today? Well, like, like what's your week look like? What's a day look like right now, running two businesses and doing your other things?
yeah, so wake up 4:40 in the morning, What are we about, like 6 espressos deep, and then yeah, it's just kind of getting the day organized of like what to do. Typically, if we're doing like, I'll still pop in and do classes. So like if we start CrossFit classes, they're 5:30 in the morning, and I'll do that until, let's call it 10 o'clock if I'm working that morning, which is right now once a week. But typically, yeah, wake up, plan the day, and then if there's something that needs to be done, I've got to be to the job site around 7:30. And then there it's either, managing the guys, or if you need help, I'm in there scrapping, I'm taping, I'm pulling stuff out, help them with boarding, whatever it might be to help get this project along. Which is kind of funny, right? Because the guys will look and be like, oh, like, you own this. What the hell are you doing? Helping scrap. And you're like, well, you're never you can't be above that. You have to be willing to help, and like,
Agreed.
There's a lot more buy-in from them whenever you do that. So yeah, I'm over at a unit that, should be done tomorrow. It's going to be tight, but I'll be in there helping, which is totally fine. And then, there's lots of trips to the dump. So, probably from 7 till 3 is just hammering out, physical labor. And then I'll come back. We'll do some invoicing either between 3 and 4. Or last night, we were doing invoicing till 8:30. Yeah. And then, I'll do some CrossFit classes if need be. So then I'll coach CrossFit from 4 until 8 p.m. And then come back home. And if there's emails that need to be done, if there's social media that needs to be done, yeah, there's lots of moving parts. It really depends on the day. But yeah, working is about 13 hours a day, typically.
That's good.
Something like drywall. You said that it's hard to do marketing for CrossFit because it is what it is. But what about drywall? How do you get clients? How do you get the name out there? I'm curious to hear, because it's an industry that's, well, very foreign to me personally. I don't know about Chris, but not a big drywall guy either. So I'm curious to hear like how you get your customers and how do you get the word out?
Yeah. So drywalling isn't quite social media friendly, It's
good to know.
It's like, it's like, oh, here's some tape on the wall. It looks good, I guess, and so it's hard to get attraction, but a lot of it is cold calling. You just got to call contractors in the area, construction company, development, developers, emailing them, saying like, hey, we're new in town. Here's our price per square foot. We'd love to be on your bidding list. And then, we basically build a Rolodex like that. And then, just keep reaching out. And then if there's more projects, they'll reach out to us to say like, hey, we have a house in Tofino, or we have a house in Arrington. Like, can you guys get a bid in there for us? Yeah. And then, that's kind of how we get it. And then we just build a reputation. If you do good work, they'll call you back, So right now we've been working well with another company who keeps getting these contracts, and then we just get subbed out to do the work, which is awesome. That's exactly how we wanted to start. And then probably in the new year, we're going to start going after like more of our own big contracts. So yeah, that's kind of how it works.
And when you call them, especially in the beginning when you guys were just starting out and you're calling, you're offering your price, what are other angles you have if you didn't necessarily have experience, or, we've been in the business for 10 years or whatever, versus maybe some of your competitors? Other than price, what was your angle to kind of have them give you guys a shot if they didn't know you?
So when it comes to construction and stuff like that, it basically comes down to price. That's all it is. They're just like, hey, who's the cheapest and who's the quality? If you're going to get somebody at $250 a square foot, but it looks like garbage, I'll pay the $265 a square foot and get something a little bit better, because there's going to be guys coming in at $285 a square foot, and you're like, nah, like you got to find that middle ground for them. And so, luckily my partner, he's got, about 14 years in the industry. So I can lean on that as a sales pitch, which is awesome. And then, some people ask for, pictures of your work, because one of the things, not only is it the quality of work that you do, but it's how well can you leave a job site clean and things like that too, right? So that the successive trades come in aren't stepping all over your stuff, and it's an interesting world. It's a different world than I've ever been a part of, for sure. But it's fun. It's been a great new challenge. I was with the gyms. I was like, all right, like, second one, successful again. It's basically running itself. I need something that's more stimulating, a little bit. And so I wanted to learn again. And this is totally a learning process right now. And I love it. It's so fun.
Devin, I want to dive into tools and resources. I'll give you an example. So Zach and I, we own a financial services firm. So we have our CRMs, we have our tools that we can't live without. I want to know on your side, was there anything that really helped you in your business, whether it's the CrossFit One, the drywall stuff, whether it be a CRM and an invoicing software, something for your leads, or if you could talk about that there, I'd be interested.
Yep. So what we use I've used a bunch of different softwares in CrossFit. We're always trying to look for the best experience for our members. Mm-hmm. And we have one that's called Push Press. And that's where all of our members, it's one of the
like it. Yeah, Push Press. That's it.
And it's where all of our memberships are. It's where all our class scheduling is. It's where we capture our leads. So they build profiles so we can, create that funnel to keep contacting them. It allows us to basically get them into our system so that we can start communicating with them and, basically selling them. But our big thing is trying to get them in the gym, because one of the big things, it's intimidating walking into CrossFit, and you look at it, you think it's X and Y, but it's nothing what it actually is. I try to tell people it's not a bunch of shirtless gym bros just throwing weights around, and in reality, most CrossFit gyms are 70% female, like that's
Is that right?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. When I first opened up, we had 28 people. We had 2 guys. That was it.
No way.
And now we're sitting.
That's insane. To the single guys listening, I mean, if you're looking to meet someone there, a CrossFit gym looks like to be a good ratio. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. It's but trying to get guys into CrossFit, it's really funny. Us fellas, we got egos, right? We're like, I don't need a coach. I don't need somebody teaching me how to do a clean and jerk or a snatch. And I'm like, all right, show me. And then they're like, oh, you need a lot of help, buddy. You're going to hurt yourself. And then it's going to give us a bad name, But I always tell people, I'm like, LeBron James has a coach. He's the best in the world, but he's got a coach. Like, why are you too good for a coach? Like, it's really funny. So it typically starts with ladies coming in, and then one of their husbands or partners will come in, and then he starts getting fit. And then all of his buddies are like, hey, what are you doing? And then they start trickling in all their friends. And then in regards for the drywalling, we use Wave as our invoicing and estimates and stuff like that for people. And that's a super handy tool.
Okay. To keep it's called Wave.
Wave.
Okay. And is that specific to the drywalling or construction industry, or pretty much any industry can use it?
Just industry. Any industry can use it. It's like an invoicing and estimates and stuff, and you can take payments in from there. And it's free too. If you want to have like a paid version, you totally can. But for what we need it for, it's like, damn, this is amazing. It's free and it keeps everything organized on file and on track for us. So we try to do as much as possible, especially with the gym, is automating, delegating, and eliminating things. Those are the 3 big things that we try to do. Is what can I delegate? What can I eliminate is huge, because there's a lot of fluff, and gym owners and a lot of business owners, I would say in general too, are very good at being busy but not productive.
Agreed.
Very good point. But not productive. And so you need to figure out what things you can eliminate too. Like, do you really need to do this on Tuesdays? Like, no, it's not really seeing any return on it. So you can ask. So it's been quite a learning process on all that. And, in the beginning, I did a lot of things wrong, but you have to, you don't learn anything by winning all the time.
Can you give us a few examples of some of these failures or some things that, it didn't go too well?
Yeah. From, I would say right off the bat, even just my scheduling, was super off. I was like, I'm going to offer 13 classes, because a big thing with CrossFit gyms is, you have classes in the morning, classes in the evenings, because gym owners typically have a full-time job in the middle of the day.
Okay.
Right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. CrossFit owners do, because it's also really poor is that, CrossFit gyms, most of them run in the negative, because, a lot of them are very passionate about what they do, but passion doesn't pay the bills. Right. And so they don't know how to run businesses, but they love CrossFit so much. So I was like, hey, I'm going to be in the gym all the time. I'm going to do it. And then from there, I was like, this time around, I did it way differently. So that was a failure, because it burnt me out. By December, I was like, I saw my first 4 days of time off, for Christmas. And I was, just get me out of this place. Like, just get me out of here. I hate this thing that I've created, and it's like, you're a victim of your own success, right? Which is a tough thing, right? You're like, damn, I need more equipment. You're like, okay, that's money, but it's because people are coming. So that's a good thing. And you're like, fuck, man, like, this is tough, So how do you balance that? I spent money on poor advertising, through Facebook and stuff like that. I bought a sandwich board that didn't have any return on investment, those big letters that says like, hey, CrossFit over here, you know. I'm like, but people know that because they're trying to just dumb things because you're like, I just need people, whatever can happen, you know, I'll get them in here. Yeah, it was, the failures were mainly my time management in the beginning, you know, and you know, some of the equipment procurement was a little off too, that we had, and some bridges were burned because people wouldn't replace things, and you know, some places wouldn't take me seriously either, right? Like in the beginning, because you know, who am I? I'm a 21-year-old who's like, hey, I need some equipment. All right, pal. Like, what do you need? Like a barbell? I'm like, no, I actually need like $60,000 worth of equipment. They're, oh, okay, now we'll take it seriously.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, now we're talking, right? So that was an interesting experience as well. But yeah, it was just also learning about, you know, filing your own taxes. You know, that's a big one. You know, as a, like, hey, always put 13% away, even if you didn't, or you spent it. Like, doesn't matter. Like, just keep putting it away. That's a nice bonus at the end of the year than saying like the government's like, hey, you need to give us $8,000. You're like, oh, oh. You're like, do you have 30 days? You know.
They take installment payments.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the last person you want knocking on your door, right? So, exactly. So yeah, there's just a lot of learning curves because, like, as much as, you know, business school does teach you a lot of it, there's a lot of things it doesn't, right? It doesn't teach you, like, you know, your GST, how to do your HST. Even out here is very different than Ontario. You know, it's been a learning curve. You know, just even how to register a business. Like, I did another side job as I was doing CrossFit Chemphil. I was doing, you know, small business development and mentorship for some people because I had a lot of members who were interested in doing business, and they saw me as a young person, you know, quote unquote, being successful, whatever you want to call that or measure that as. They're like, hey, how do I do this? And I was like, hey, man, I'll help you. Sure. Like, you want to chase your dreams? Let's do it. You know, like, here. Yeah, but then also in my head, I'm like, you know, if we can't even make a Google search to like register a business, are we really, are we really cut out to run a business? You know, so, but you know, sometimes some people just need a little bit of a push and guidance, you know, so I did that as well with also website development and design for people. So I did that at the same time as CrossFit Chemphil. But yeah, it's been a busy 7 years.
One thing I find that's really impressive that you understood at such a young age is we see it all the time where we say there's two types of business owners. There's business lifestyle owners, or there's value creators. Value creators understand that you want to work on the business and not just in the business. And that's something you mentioned earlier. So I'd be curious to know, kind of let you unpack this before we wrap it up, of what does it mean to work on a business instead of inside the business?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, any goal that I've had with business owning has been like, you know, as much as it's meant to be, you know, a job and it helps me, you know, put food on the table and, you know, buy homes or whatever it might be, you know, it's to also create opportunities for other people, right? It's like, that's a huge thing. So like I had, you know, I think eight employees in CrossFit Chemphil, and they were all able to, you know, have their own passion, you know, and deliver that to people. And you know, that was awesome. And so what that allowed me to do is, you know, instead of being in the gym and, you know, it's like 5 a.m., you're like, all right, coach, 4 hours. Then in your head, you're like, I got this email, I got to do this, I got to clean, I got to do that. Like, you're kind of, you know, absent-minded from your members at the same time. So you're not really giving them the best experience, you know that you can. You know, so what I did is I ended up finding people who are passionate about teaching and coaching CrossFit, and they wanted to do it as much as they possibly could, which is, I was like, oh, okay, you know, you want more hours, take them, you know, please. And then it just transitioned into, you know, what are ways that we can increase our social media engagement? You know, how can we do more community events? How can I get involved into the Chamber of Commerce a little bit more? You know, so we can get our name out there in different ways than just like, hey, we're a group of people who exercise. We're also a group of people who, you know, support local charities. You know, we did an international charity. It's called Barbells for Boobs, and it raised money for breast cancer, you know, and we did 24 workouts in 24 hours. We raised $13,000. You know, it was amazing. It was a huge community event. So that was kind of the stuff that like allowed me to work on the business, is like, hey, let's grow it from the outside, you know, in versus, hey, you know, our marketing tool in CrossFit is our members. They talk about it. They want you in there. They wear the brand and they're like, you all have to do it. So I don't have to spend money on marketing. These are my marketing. This is whole agency is my membership, you know?
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, how do we get the word out from the outside in that like, hey, we are doing more than just exercise. We're helping the community. We're doing canned food drives at the holidays. You know, we're trying to help kids, you know, get into sports and stuff like that, you know? So yeah, those are the sort of the things that, you know, we did in Kempville. And then here, you know, it's learning about this new place, because I don't know anything about this place. You know, I spent 20 hours in Port Alberni before I moved here. That was it. That was it. And I was like, let's do it. You know, why not? So yeah, now it's like just learning and trying to get involved. There's like a big fundraiser, you know, it's called the McLean Mill 10K Run. We're getting involved with that because one of our members owns a physiotherapy clinic that is the main sponsor for it. So we're trying to get involved there. You know, and, you know, even if something as simple as taking your car that has the decals on it and driving around town,
you know, that's a good point.
Those are huge things, you know, that make a big difference, just to be visible constantly in the area. Yeah.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, listen, we're going to wrap it up, and thank you again, Devin, because this was awesome. We learned a lot about your hustle, the passion, giving back to the community, which I think is really underrated, especially for small business owners. We don't hear enough stories about that. Before we do close it, I think I'll just want to leave you the floor, because there's a lot of people who watch this. It's mostly people who want to start their own business, or who are at their 9 to 5 right now, who kind of feel like you, who they don't want to be told when to take that 15-minute break. Yeah. But they just need that kind of extra edge to finally make a move on the whatever their dream is, whether it's opening a gym or whatever industry. So I don't know, do you have a little words of wisdom, some mentorship for them?
Yeah, I mean, that's tough, you know, because I love when people want to do it, because when people are really excited about entrepreneurship, right? They're like, I want to do it. They have this kind of euphoric concept about what it's going to be, right? But there's also the reality of what it is too, right? It can be incredibly lonely. It can be incredibly difficult and hard. But at the same time, it's incredibly rewarding, you know, depending on what industry you go into, you know, on a daily basis, you get to see people change their lives. You get to create opportunities. And, you know, like, I don't know, I just find it risky to not work for yourself, you know, like bet on yourself, take a chance, have that confidence that, like, you know, you are your best investment, you know, and if there's tools or tricks or, you know, education that you need, go out and get it. You know, and just consume as much as you can about the industry you're trying to get into, but also make it make sense, you know, like there are calculated risks that need to be done, you know, and that's what we see in the CrossFit industry is a lot of people bite off way more than they can chew, you know, and then all of a sudden they're like, like I can't pay the bills, but reverse engineer those numbers, make it make sense. But honestly, when anybody's ever asked me about doing entrepreneurship, I'm like, just do it, you know, do it. Like you got to try it. If this is something that there's an itch that needs to be scratched, you got to scratch it. You got to do it, because nobody's going to, you know, or they shouldn't at least, you know, criticize you or be critical about, you know, it not working, you know, because you can be like, hey, I gave it a chance. You know, I tried. That's more than what most people will do. You know, most people won't even get past that trying you know, phase. So it's like, hey, just give it a chance, you know, and if there's any support or there's any, you know, advice that you need, like reach out to other people who are in the entrepreneurship world. Cause yeah, we understand, there's a lot of people who don't understand it, you know, and they'll judge you for it, but just keep on your path and keep going. You know, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. But hey, I know I wouldn't want to be doing anything else. That's for sure.
Awesome. So it's almost more risky not to work for yourself.
I think so.
Bet on yourself and then just do it. I love it.
And just do it. Yeah. Just do it. That's awesome.
That's awesome, man. Devin, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate you sharing this today. Chris, I don't know if you have some final words before we wrap this up.
I just want to ask Devin, where can people find you, Devin? If someone wants to follow your CrossFit Gym or your Summit Drywall or just your journey, your personal journey, where's the best place so they can follow you or reach out to you if they have any questions?
Yeah. So our social media is Alberni Valley CrossFit, just at Alberni Valley CrossFit. My personal one, I'm not a big social media guy. You know,
you're too busy. You're too busy. It's okay.
I don't know. It's not one thing that I really enjoy, but it's so important. So like I focus more on the business side of it, but
Perfect.
Yeah, Albany Valley CrossFit. My own Instagram handle is Deaton's. Summit Drywall has an Instagram. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. We're hoping to get some free tools from or something like that.
Okay, yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, exactly. Sponsor us, Columbia Tools, if you hear this.
Yeah, that's it. Little shout out.
Yeah, shout out Columbia Tools. You guys make great stuff.
Good.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah, follow along. It's a cool experience, and then take a chance on the Albany Valley. If you're looking for an investment in business or property.
Yeah, you piqued my curiosity now.
Albany Valley is where it's at, man. I'm telling you, a lot of people were saying no about Albany Valley, but this place is in a huge revamp. It's gone from a lumber town to a place where it's affordable on the island, and a lot of young families are coming, and it's the next Squamish, and we know that because Squamish developer is coming.
Okay, that's good to know. Well, thank you again for your time.
My roommates from Bishops are both in BC, and I think at least one of them is on the island, so I'll tell them Albany Valley. Yeah,
listen, wait till hear what they say about it. Yeah, they'll give you a different review than me. That's for sure.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Devin. We'll keep in touch. Obviously, all those links we'll put in the bio. And thank you, everybody, for watching. We appreciate you. We are recording another one next week with Axel Raymond, a tailor in Ottawa, Montreal. And on that, have a great day. See you soon.
Take care.
Take care, guys.